What is up, you guys? We're going to be doing a reaction video to every year's biggest NFL draft bust since 2000 by That's Good Sports. He's one of my favorite NFL YouTubers, dude. You got to check him out. He's funny as hell. But yeah, man, let's not even waste any time. Let's dive straight into it.
He's a bust. This is maybe the biggest bust in NFL history.
Biggest bust in NFL history.
Biggest bust in NFL history's
Biggest bust.
By the way, lots of these QBs that are drafted high, they get labeled bust straight out of the gate before they even take a snap, dude. I've noticed that with all of us NFL fans. People go crazy. Sometimes I feel bad for these guys, dude, man. It's like a lot on their plate, but
Ever in the NFL.
sonic booming busts.
If the words biggest bust don't get you excited, you might already be dead. The first draft in NFL history was held at a hotel in 1936. Teams could choose from a pool of just 90 college players, most of which would get drafted again, but to fight in WW2.
It's all
The
black and
NFL
white
didn't
and
have
shit.
scouting departments or analytics or the combine.
crazy. It's crazy
It made
how far
sense
we've
that
come.
the first player selected in draft history was also the first Heisman Trophy winner, University of Chicago halfback Jay Berwanger. Berwanger is the clinical term for shrinkage, by the way. Berwanger.
I'm a grower, not a shower.
I'm telling you, he likes to make jokes. He's funny, bro. I love how he keeps it lighthearted. That's why I kind of do my thing the same way. Like, I'm not no, like, serious when I do film and shit, bro. You just gotta kind of joke around.
All right? It was cold, I swear.
Never signed with the Eagles and instead opted for a career as a foam rubber salesman, which paid better than football could at the time. I guess you could say that the first pick of the first draft was technically a bust, and that set the tone for the next 90 years. Now, I'm not going to go through all 90 drafts, and you're welcome for that, but
That's
I'm going to
crazy.
start at the year 2000. And pick the biggest bust from every draft since, all the way up to present day. And I'll clarify right now that I'm going to opt for players who were simply bad at football or cantankerous off the field rather than players who
Such
had
a
their
Marcus
careers
Russell that I just
derailed
saw.
by injuries.
RG3,
Also keep it in the
Mr.
first round
Trubisky.
where the stakes are the highest, so guys like Roberto Aguayo and Christian
Crazy selection, by the way. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers essentially did it with the kicker that they don't have anymore. You guys know what I'm talking
Hackenberg are
about.
safe. With that in mind, let's start with the first draft of the new millennium. The year 2000. In the year 2000. Now, this is a tough draft to evaluate because there wasn't a ton of star power. Just one Hall of Famer, Brian Urlacher, but not a
That's
ton of
it?
outright.
One Hall of... I mean, no, that's really not that crazy, but he's just saying it's not a good draft, bro. Usually in the first round you get
You
a
can
couple
certainly
guys.
make the case that Courtney Brown was a big disappointment and a bad first overall pick,
Oh, hell,
but
it's
he
a
was
player to the
essentially a
Browns.
role player for 6 seasons.
Who? Courtney Brown? He was the number one pick in an NFL draft. I had no idea.
If you want a true bust, check out the 29th overall pick where the Jags took USC wide receiver R.J. Sauer.
5'9",
Sauer has
177.
said openly that he did not want the pressure of being a first-round pick. He battled alcoholism as a player and was suspended multiple times. Now, Sauer didn't lack talent. He got on the national radar with a 4-touchdown game as a freshman at USC. And his lone NFL touchdown came
bet he's
against
fast, though.
Deion Sanders.
I bet he's got
he
some
also
wheels, though.
caused an interception and
I bet he
muffed a
had
punt
some
in the-
wheels, though.
the same game. A tough break, though, for Jacksonville, too, because they were a complete
punt
team
returning
at the
ain't
time.
easy.
They took Soward, and the rival Titans took all-pro linebacker Keith Bullock 1 pick later. Soward's 13 games played were the fewest in that draft class, but not the fewest on today's list. 2001. Lots of high-end talent in this draft. LT,
Michael Vick.
the second one, LaDainian Tomlinson, Drew Brees, and Steve Hutchinson, to name 3 exactly. After being so dominant in the 90s, the Packers needed an infusion of young talent, but they missed at pick 10 when they selected FSU defensive end Jamal Reynolds, who was immediately beat out for a starting job by Kabir Gabaja Biamia.
The voice of the KG.
Dude, when those first round players, when they get beat out in camp, somebody else beats them out, you already know shit's like not good, right? And like the thing is like, oh, give them time, but it's like, ugh, they were selected high for a reason to start.
Biamila, which was a bust for any announcer trying to say that name instead of Jamal Reynolds, who only hung around for 3 years in Green Bay before being cut by the Browns in the 2004 preseason. This was a really solid first round with all types of contributors across the board, but the Packers stepped on a landmine at 10, which for a visual is a bowl of nacho cheese in the microwave for 5 minutes on high. 2002, a lot of lists will probably tell you quarterback David Carr is the answer
Derek
here,
Carr's
but
brother.
I think we've come to a place with quarterbacks where we now understand how critical the situation is to their
he dropped
success,
that, though.
And Carr was the first pick of an expansion team with a turnstile offensive line. His 76 sacks taken during his rookie season is still an NFL record.
76 sacks in his rookie season? That's absolutely insane. That's
They
insane.
would have been much better served taking Julius Peppers and perhaps landing Carson Palmer a year later. Ultimately, the least impactful first rounder was Wisconsin defensive tackle.
Hey man, when some of these franchises take a QB and they don't have the support system, it's a recipe for disaster. It's not going to work out.
Wendell Bryant, who the Cardinals took 12th overall.
6'4",
1 pick
308.
after Dwight Freeney. Just 1.5 sacks for Bryant and 3 years in the desert before a 2005 suspension related to substance abuse put an end to his career.
Okay, but did he get into your pressure? Because it said he was a defensive tackle. But did he get into your pressure? Was he decent, against the run? But I don't know. It's not really sounding too good.
2003, Lions receiver Charles Rogers is probably the most common pick here. And of course, he was a bust, especially when you compare his career to Andre Johnson, who was taken a pick
Hall
later.
of Famer.
But his story is really sad, and
Is
he
Andre Johnson
tragically
in the Hall of
died
Fame?
of liver failure in 2019.
That's
so I've got a
crazy.
different selection. Georgia defensive tackle Jonathan Sullivan, the 6th overall pick by the Saints after New Orleans traded up. After a holdout, Sullivan had a pretty strong rookie season.
There was no whistle.
It's never good when a rookie holds out before they start playing with their team. It never works out. Ever.
Blown, and Jonathan Sullivan was in the backfield. That whistle should have been blown. He just kept on coming.
Then struggled with his weight, didn't have a strong work ethic, and was out of the league after just 3 seasons. The Saints were making him a healthy scratch by year 2, and after being made inactive before 1 game in Atlanta, Sullivan went up.
What does that say? Declared inactive despite his status as the number 6 pick in the 2003 draft, Sullivan and teammate Sean Smith ventured into press box and left with plates of hamburgers. Hey man, the dude likes it. The dude likes the burgers. What's wrong with
To
that?
the press box to just eat burgers. That's good old-fashioned bust behavior.
He just
Hey, he's a
kept on
defensive
coming.
lineman though.
Just don't make them like that anymore, do they? It's probably a good thing he didn't make it to 2006 in New Orleans because Sean Payton might have murdered him or bounty-gated his own player.
I'm answering the question. Be quiet, I'm answering the question.
He just kept on coming.
You gonna let me finish?
And please, subscribe to this YouTube
Dude, hey, yo. Sean Payton, man, he has some attitude with the media. I like it. More of these coaches need to kind of snap back at the media when they start popping off.
channel. I've been doing this shit for 13 years. I've been called a bust plenty of times.
That's what I'm doing, trying to.
Sports. Today's episode is sponsored.
Ah, okay, my man's getting his money. I respect it. Get your money, man. Let me see. That's this. All right, here we go.
2004. Now, we remember this draft for the quarterbacks. Chargers legend Eli Manning. Colts legend Phillip Rivers. And the first QB in the AFC North to get a pass.
Hey, that's back when Phillip Rivers didn't have a ton of kids, man. Now he's,
For
got a
sexual
ton of
assault
kids.
allegations.
Ben Roethlisberger.
But there was a 4th quarterback in that legendary first
The
round.
handlebar.
The Bills actually traded up to select Tulane's J.P. Lossman, 22nd overall. Lossman sat behind Drew Bledsoe for a year and didn't win the starting job outright until
I've
2006.
literally never even heard of this dude.
You saw
JP
some flashes
Lossman?
that season. He was actually pretty damn good in the second half of the year, including a game in Houston where he threw 2 separate 83-yard touchdowns to
That
Lee
was a
Evans
bomb,
in the
though.
first quarter alone. Unfortunately, that was where it peaked for Lossman, who was eventually replaced in Buffalo by Ryan Fitzmagic.
It don't take long.
I don't think Lossman
Fitz.
is in the upper echelon of QB busts, and he was never given a competent offensive line, but
That's
it
not
was such
fair.
a drastic fall off from the first 3 QBs to the 4th. And then, of course, the 5th quarterback was Matt Schaub, who was pretty good too.
All of those guys were franchise QBs. All of them. When you have a draft with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 franchise QBs in the first to second rounds, and you have one guy that just doesn't look as good, that franchise is going to get some heat, and they are on such a short leash. Such a short leash.
2005, it's receiver Troy Williamson. I think this play sums it up pretty
Ooh,
well.
catch him with the
And I know
body.
that video looks terrible, but that's an 18-year-old YouTube
Ooh,
clip
catch him with
posted
the
by
body
a pissed
again.
off Vikings fan, and it's just titled "Troy Williamson Sucks." Troy was fast enough to get
2007.
wide open, but his hands were bad enough to just never catch the ball consistently.
Hey,
The
bro, some
Vikings
people
took
don't have those
Williamson
hands.
with the 7th pick, which of course was the pick that they got when they traded Randy Moss to Oakland. So in essence, the Vikings and Raiders traded Randy Moss for Troy Williamson, and somehow both teams lost. Williamson was pretty famous for his
Disgusting.
inability to judge the ball in the air, which he attributed to bad depth perception.
Dude, that shit is not easy in the dark under lights, by the way. I'm just telling you that right now. And somebody that's never played football, receiving a punt, it's high up in the air, receiving a deep catch, it's not as easy as it looks.
Troy Williamson
that right now.
was really a major disappointment. There's just no other way to say it. That's a pretty simple adjustment in the air. He was clear and let
I'm not
it
gonna
hit
lie, he's
right on
pretty
his
crazy
shoulder
with his
pads.
hands,
Turns
bro.
out seeing the ball is more important than a 4.32 40-yard dash. Williamson also once stated he wanted to fight Vikings head coach Brad Childress after Childress tried to
Shit.
fine Williamson $25,000 for leaving the team to attend his grandmother's funeral.
Damn! If that's true, like, damn!
I think Troy probably had a point there.
Yeah.
Brad.
Fuck
Yeah.
you, Brad.
2006,
Family.
USC phenom Matt Leinart went 10th overall
Grandma.
to the Cardinals, sandwiched between other quarterbacks Jake Cutler and Vince Young.
Dude, that's Jay
USC.
Cutler over there, quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I mean, you kind of suck, but my dad says you might be good someday.
Thanks.
It's hard to say Matt Leinart never had a chance to
South
develop with the Cardinals when you consider he joined a team with Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden, plus the fact that they went to
2 good wide receivers, by the way.
the Super Bowl with Kurt Warner in 2008.
We had Larry and we had Anquan.
Yeah.
So we had 2 of the best to ever do it. Even my rookie year, I played pretty well. And we were like, okay. And then I hurt my AC the last game of the year. New coaching staff comes in. And that's where, for me personally, it went all downhill. So, like, I was screwed from day one.
Yeah, the
and
new
again, I didn't
coaching
help
staff.
myself at times, but, like, there was nothing I could do right.
Leinart bounced
The new coaching staff will cook young players. If they're with the old regime, a new coach comes in, they're just like, I don't want that guy.
around after starting just 18 games in the desert, and the former Heisman winner's career ended unceremoniously in 2013 when he threw 3 picks in a Week 4 preseason game for the Bills.
That's rough.
A very disappointing career for one of the most decorated quarterbacks in college football history, but he doesn't hold a candle to the next guy. 2007. There's so many ways to attack the Jamarcus
Jamarcus
pick.
Russell.
Let's start with the fact that he was taken before.
Dude, before he goes on to talk about this, one thing that I got told, because I was a little bit younger around 2007, so I didn't remember this draft and this shit at this time. But my one of my friends who's older, he used to tell me how like the whole scenario with Jamarcus Russell, how they like swapped, they like gave him like a fake playbook, told him to study it. He said he studied it, and there was like nothing on there, maybe a disc or something of tape. But yeah, let's see if they mention it on here.
Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas.
Some of you will know
Adrian
exactly what I'm
Peterson,
talking
Darrell
about.
Revis,
Some of you that are a
and
little bit
Patrick
older.
Willis. That's 5 Hall of Famers.
That's
You
crazy.
can also point to the fact that Russell held out all the way through training camp and into Week 1.
Like I said, that shit never fucking works out when a first rounder holds out.
Of the 2007 season, which essentially
It's already
ruined
off to
his
a rocky
rookie year.
start.
He had a notoriously bad work ethic, famously pretended to be watching game film when the team was sending him blank tapes.
There
Here's
it
a
is.
DVD for you. You look at these plays, and then tomorrow you tell me which ones you like, which ones you don't like. So the next day they come to practice, come to the facility. Hey, Jamarcus, hey, how's that DVD? Did you look at it? What did it look? He's like, oh, coach, all the plays. I'm good. Whatever you want to run, let's do it. Coach DeFilippo was kind of looking around and was like, it was a blank DVD.
And was overweight for basically
Shit's
his
awkward
entire
as
career.
fuck.
I am a person that believes in second chances. I think America is the land of second chances.
Look at a young Stephen A. Smith. Look at him. Look at his hairline. Look at Stephen A. Smith's hairline, son. Look at that.
Except for when it comes to this dude, Mr. Jabba the Hutt, you fat, slovenly, no good, lazy. Oh, come on.
At least the Raiders can say they didn't pass on a better quarterback
shit
because
back
Brady
then.
Quinn was the next passer off the board. Russell finished his career
I actually really
with
like
a
Brady
7-18 record, 23 picks and 18 touchdowns.
This is absolutely a disgusting stat line. I wonder if he even had a game where he got over 60 completion percentage. I'm not going to look that up because I don't want to change my screen. But
And is basically every football YouTuber's first video idea when the off-season hits. Who's the biggest draft bust ever?
Jamarcus Russell.
It's Jamarcus Russell. Maybe I should make a video about him.
I must have been the best to be the biggest, right? If you're gonna call me a bust, like you say, put the biggest on that motherfucker, man. I love it.
2008. Now, this one gets forgotten, but probably not by Jets fans. Ohio State pass rusher Vernon Golston hit 37 reps on the bench press at the combine, ran in the 4.5s, and had a ridiculous wingspan, which enticed the Jets into
I remember the
selecting
name.
him
I don't
at
remember
6th
him.
overall. He never recorded a sack in 3 NFL seasons, despite playing in 45 games. And his younger cousin, William
That's when Rex
Golston,
was
did
there,
have
right?
19 and a half sacks and won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. The first 2 picks in 08 were Jake and Chris Long, who I'm still not entirely convinced
They're
are
not
2
related.
different players. 20
They're not related.
After Matty Stafford, the first round of the 2009 draft was a wasteland for a big stretch. Jason Smith, Tyson Jackson, Aaron Curry, Mark Sanchez, and Darius Hayward.
Whoa. There's some good players in that draft. Matthew Stafford, Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez he had a couple good seasons with the Jets. I'm just saying that right now. Freaking Michael Crabtree, really good. Noshawn Marino, Malcolm Jenkins with Philly, bro. Brian Arakpo. Like, there's some good players on this list. Brian
Aaron
Cushing.
Curry is my pick because he was called the safest pick in the draft. Mel Kiper called him 2009's prophylactic
You gotta
player.
be watching what Mel Kiper
Just
says.
kidding, I came up with that phrase, and don't you dare steal it, Mel. As it turns out, you can never be too safe, which Seattle found out at pick number 4. He became the highest drafted linebacker since LeVar Arrington went 2nd overall in 2000, but by 2011, he had lost his starting job to KJ Wright and was traded to the Raiders. An interesting note, Curry was the linebackers
KJ Wright was he's pretty baller though, I'm not gonna lie.
coach for the
For
2025 New York Jets. Not a safe job to have, and he was let go just a couple months ago.
Your prophylactic stone didn't work.
2010. The 2010 draft was pretty strong. It's hard to call anyone a bust in the first round, but there were a few players I'd describe as disappointing. Sam Bradford won Rookie of the Year in 2010 for St. Louis, but
He
never
did
seemed
play
to
good at
improve
times.
significantly from
Yeah.
that point and battled
The knee
knee
injury.
injuries, presumably caused by the tough bristles from Jeff Fisher's mustache. Tim Tebow has one of the strangest careers of any QB in NFL history. He completed 48% of his passes, but had a near 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, a winning record, and of course beat the Steelers in that playoff game. Rolando McClain was a good player.
Which is insane. You watch Tim Tebow and it's like, bro, he's not good at the QB position. But he won a playoff game. He has that on his resume over other QBs in the NFL currently who are considered good that don't have a playoff win. I know it's a team sport, but it's still kind of crazy.
Player who ran afoul of the law. Javid Best was electrifying before concussions ended his career. So I'm going all the way to the 2nd round, breaking my...
All right, I'm sorry to keep pausing, but have you guys... Dude, when Javid, when he played for, who was it? He played for Cal, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Have you guys seen the highlight where he like jumps up into the end zone and he literally like falls on his neck? Dude, it's crazy. I swear it's best. I could be wrong. I don't think it's Abdullah. I think it's best.
My own rule in giving
For
it to
Detroit.
Jimmy Clausen, who went 1-13 in his NFL career with twice as many picks as touchdown passes.
That's foul.
And so I can mention that Mel Kiper said he'd retire if Jimmy Clausen was not a successful quarterback within 8 years. Well, it's been 8 years. Since it's been 8 years
Where you
since
at, Mel?
Clausen was drafted, and Mel Kiper is still on ESPN.
Where you
to
at,
which
Mel?
I say, liar! You're a fucking liar, Mel.
We are NOA. All three of us, we're gonna get paid.
2011. The 2011 draft is a big one in the history of the NFL, and not just because of the names. It was the first draft with the current rookie wage scale, which drove down salaries for players on their first contracts.
Thank goodness they lowered the price on those first-year contracts, dude, because some of these guys were absolutely finessing some of these NFL teams.
Missing on a free agent or a big trade was way worse than screwing up in the first round after this change. It's why draft busts stung more prior to 2011, because they usually came with giant salaries. Essentially, missing early in a draft no longer is a financial burden, and more teams were willing to trade
Put
up
you
as
in the hole.
well, which we saw the Falcons do for Julio Jones.
We have to attribute this to
One
the
of the
rookie
best.
salary cap. Absolutely. I can remember being here a couple of years ago and nobody wanted to get up in the top 5 because of the money you had to pay these guys.
12 of the first 16 players picked in 2011 made the Pro Bowl.
Bro, that is stacked. That is absolutely stacked. Look at that. Bro, we got Cam Newton, Von Miller, look at AJ Green, Patrick Peterson, Julio Jones, Aldon Smith, Jake Locker, Tyrone Smith, Blaine Gabbert, he was in the league for a bit, JJ Watt, Christian Ponder, he was back up for a bit, Nick Fairley, Robert Quinn, Mike Pouncey, Ryan Kerrigan, who's that? Prince Ahmed. What?
Jake Locker, though, the 8th pick by the Titans, did not.
Stacked.
I made a video a few years ago
Stacked
about
first
Jake
round.
Locker and how he is one of the more forgotten busts of all time.
Yeah.
Locker had some nice moments, including a good stretch in 2013.
Whenever I
but
watched him
don't
with
think
Tennessee, I was always like, what the fuck, man?
he
Like, what
really
is
loved
happening?
football, which led to an early retirement in 2015.
Ooh, that
But
shoulder.
we're here in 2012, and you can go a couple directions in the top 5 of the 2012 draft. You can make a strong case for Jaguars receiver Justin Blackmon, but he was fantastic on the field. Unfortunately,
Off field,
substance
dude.
abuse ruined his career.
Oh my gosh, dude. Justin Blackmon was so good. He was so good.
Back Trent Richardson was not good on the field. The most amazing part about Richardson's career was that 2 teams used a first-round pick on him. In 2012, the Browns took him 3rd overall, and after a season where he averaged just 3.6 yards per carry, they dealt him to the Colts for a 2014 late first-round pick.
Finesse.
We'll check in on that pick later. After fumbling early in the 2013 wildcard game against the Chiefs, I think the Colts realized they threw away a premium pick. Richardson was out of the league by 2015, but he is the all-time leading touchdown scorer in the now-defunct Alliance of American Football Spring League. Back to the Browns, though, because they drafted Richardson and Brandon Weeden in 2012 in the first round.
Oh, Brandon
That's a
Weeden.
2-for-1 bust special, which you could also get
Last time I remember Brandon Weeden was on the Cowboys. That's the last time I
Hooters in the
remember
early
him.
2000s on Wednesday night if you said the word Gruden to your waitress.
Football.
Football.
Football. Football.
Oh, foosball.
2013 is widely considered one of the worst drafts ever, and we kind of knew that coming into that draft. 2 tackles were taken with the first 2 picks, and somehow neither of them were Lane Johnson, who's still playing today. They were Eric Fisher and
Birds,
Luke Jokel.
baby.
It's almost hard to pick one standout bust here. You can make the case for Luke Jokel, Bills quarterback E.J. Manuel.
GOAT. Absolute GOAT.
Dion Jordan, Barcavius Mingo, Jonathan Cooper, or D. Milliner.
Star
and that's
Lutuli,
just the top
Sheldon
10.
Richardson. Sheldon Richardson. He's that.
I want to talk about Dion Jordan, though, who was the third overall
Miami.
pick just 6 years after he suffered third-degree burns on 40% of his body, suffered in a freak accident. Jordan was suspended twice by the NFL, once for a diluted urine sample and another for Adderall that was meant to treat his ADHD. Still, he only recorded 3 sacks as a Dolphin before having a decent resurgence as a rotational lineman with the Seahawks, Raiders.
He did, but man, people would not stop talking about Dion Jordan. They would not stop talking about him, even when he wasn't good. I was just like, dude, he's not that guy.
49ers.
Really
He's
talented,
also the
but he
new
just
head
never
coach
was
for
what
Eureka
some people thought he
College
could
in
be.
Illinois, a school with less than 600 students.
Yo, that's cool though. That's cool though. That means he clearly loves football. You know what I mean?
Probably the biggest bust, but he has an interesting story of perseverance, and I wanted to share that here as well.
Who's the primary on Spider 2Z Snag?
It's the fullback out of the backfield. If he gets jammed, I'm hitting the flanker on a curl route.
2014. It's Johnny Manziel in a landslide.
My
The Browns
boy.
took Johnny Foot.
I sat and talked and praised about how good Johnny Manziel would be. I was one of them. I was like, oh, he's gonna be good. Man, was I wrong.
With the 22nd overall pick, which they acquired in a trade up via their Colts first rounder, which came from the Trent Richardson trade. It's the gift that just keeps giving. What can you say about Johnny Football that hasn't already been chronicled on Netflix or Twitter? I don't know.
He's kind of a little bit of a party boy, man.
0.
But I wanted to point out that he had a couple nice games in 2015, and I think
did.
he could have made a long career for himself if he had ever put in the effort to do so. Oklahoma State defensive back
I think his situation was a little bit wacky too, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Justin Gilbert would
Watch that
probably
documentary
be
on
better
Johnny.
remembered as a big miss for the Browns if they hadn't also taken Manziel later in the first round. So you should thank him, Gilbert.
Where's your head lately, Gilbert?
2015.
I thought
There's
Justin
an
Gilbert was gonna
incredible
be good,
amount
too.
of so-so picks in the 2015 draft. Not a lot of traditional busts, which
Gurley.
is exemplified by Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota at picks 1 and 2. West Virginia receiver Kevin White, though, was the 7th overall pick by the Chicago Bears, and he failed to hit 400 receiving yards despite playing in 6
Oh my
seasons.
gosh,
I
this
feel
is
like
so
he's
bad.
Bears fans' biggest bust, considering he was supposed to save their offense and thrive next to Alshon Jeffrey.
Is he their biggest bust, or is this guy gonna get to Justin Fields or Mitchell Trubisky? Let's see. I don't think he's their biggest bust.
He probably would have been
we
good if
still got
not
more-
for a
we still got
laundry
more to go
list of
here.
injuries. Tackle Eric Flowers, though, selected 2 picks later at 9 by the Giants, was just as bad. Bad technique, too many penalties, and he was accused of quitting on the team by Jeff Schwartz. 2016, as a Broncos fan, I can't escape this one.
Paxton Lynch.
The 20th overall pick, Deron Lee, was a
Broncos.
miss for the Jets, and he was just charged with murdering his girlfriend a month ago.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Receiver Josh Dotson
That's
never worked out for the
crazy,
Washington.
bro.
And quarterback Christian Hackenberg never even attempted a pass in New York. We did a video on him too. But I don't think any of them, unfortunately, hold a candle to Paxton Lynch, who
They
basically
traded up a
set off
shit
the
ton, I
Broncos
remember.
QB carousel from 2016 to 2023. Denver traded up to select Lynch out of Memphis, which is bad enough. Then you realize they were also interested in Dak Prescott.
Bro, I swear the haul was more than that, though. What they just showed us, I swear it was more than that.
Then you realize the Chiefs were trying to trade up for Lynch too, and if they had pulled that off, they wouldn't have taken Chris Jones a few picks later, and they might not have taken Patrick Mahomes a year later. This was a franchise-altering bust for multiple teams, including the Cowboys. Jerry Jones deeply regretted not moving up for Lynch. That probably changed once
think it
he
worked
saw
out well
him
for them.
play. Paxton, though, was like a taller right-handed Tim Tebow without the blessing of a higher power or any success in the NFL. People got the impression that he didn't really care about football, but he's still playing right now in the National Arena League for the Colorado Spartans, which
Then he
you
likes
have
football.
to respect.
He clearly loves it.
Respect.
He just wasn't good in the NFL.
2017. Now the easy pick here would be Mitchell Trubisky, who was taken before Patty Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Go.
Obviously the wrong pick, but Trubisky had a brief run and had 2 playoff years in Chicago.
Like I said, I didn't think Kevin White was the worst.
And is still kicking it as a backup. You could make a case for the 49ers selecting Solomon Thomas at 3.
By the way, dude, they could be labeled a bust, but if they're still in the league as a backup, they're still making money. They're still kind of winning. You know what I mean? They're still kind of winning, in my opinion.
Overall, but he's been a solid rotational guy with 36 starts under his belt.
Come on,
the
Dak.
worst pick, in my opinion, was Taco Charlton, Michigan's defensive end who was taken by the Cowboys just 2 slots ahead of TJ Watt.
This guy was not
Watt
good.
has 115 sacks in 9 seasons. Charlton is, however, still in Dallas, but he's now a member of the Renegades in the UFL. And this is the only time you'll hear me speak negatively about a taco, the greatest food on earth.
Buenos tacos, amigos.
2018. If this list had been made 2
funny.
years ago, Sam Darnold might have been the pick. Darnold's 2-year run that ended in a Super Bowl win was monumental.
It started off rocky.
In terms of the way we evaluate quarterbacks and really players in general.
It's because, like we mentioned earlier, you put these QBs in bad scenarios. Now you look at him when he went with Minnesota. He leaves Minnesota, he goes to Seattle. He's in a good scenario. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. You got to put these quarterbacks in a good situation. Some of these front offices, they ain't got it.
This label is really one that should apply to teams as much as players. And with that in mind, UCLA QB Josh Rosen was the biggest bust in 2018. Selected 11th overall in a QB-rich draft featuring Baker, Darnold, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. This is an all-time miss by the Cardinals.
It ended so quick.
Who do you think of these 4 guys might end up most likely to be a bust?
I hate to do it, but I would just say Sam Rosen.
He famously said there were 9 mistakes taken ahead of him.
You say Sam Rosen?
Which really seems unfair to guard Quentin Nelson.
There were 9 mistakes made ahead of me, and I will make sure over the next decade or so that they will know that they made a mistake.
Yep, that's me.
Cocky
You're
as
probably
hell.
wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Josh Rosen was traded just a year into his career when the Cardinals decided to take Kyler Murray first overall exactly a year later.
It may not have worked out.
Rosen, though, enrolled in
Kyler
the
Murray ain't no
Wharton
bust.
School of Business back in 2024, so he seems like he's doing just fine now.
You know who went to Harvard? The Unabomber. You know who went to Wharton? Donald Trump.
2019 Clemson defensive lineman Cleveland Farrell was a bad pick at 4th overall, but he was overdrafted by the Raiders. That's not his fault, and we knew that at the time. And he's turned into a decent rotational player. That has not been the case for...
Yeah, I always hear the Niners talk about him. He's not bad. He's not bad. Now he hasn't lived up to where he was drafted, but it's not
defensive
terrible.
back DeAndre Baker, who was released by the Giants after 1 season after he faced charges of armed robbery. Now, those charges were later dropped, and the Chiefs swooped in and signed the talented corner out of Georgia, but that never panned out either. He did make the 2025 All-UFL team, though, and I wouldn't rule him out getting another look in the NFL. The 2019 draft, while not sexy, actually produced a ton of impactful players. Quinnen Williams, Josh Hines-Allen, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Montez Sweat. If Baker isn't the biggest bust, I have to say it was Arizona State receiver N'Keal Harry, taken at 32 by the Patriots. Just 714 yards in his 5-year career.
I don't even know who this is.
But
No
really landing
disrespect.
in New England in 2019 and not making that offense more dynamic feels
No,
like the last straw that
I've
pushed
known that.
Tom Brady out to Tampa.
There's only one
I know who
first-round
this
landing
is.
spot for Metcalf
I barely
or
really
Harry,
paid attention to his
the
game,
world
I'm not gonna
champion
lie.
New England Patriots at number 32.
That pick is in. Where is Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick doesn't know how to select offensive players, though. They don't. Like, they just have good role players throughout Tom Brady and Belichick, like, through their whole time. Like, you see a couple guys like Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Danny Amendola, which was and then, of course, Randy Moss, but they didn't draft Randy Moss, you know what I mean? He came from a different team. But not the best track record from Bill Belichick. Good defensive players, though.
Check going.
2020, the 12th overall pick, Alabama receiver.
That's
Henry
even more
Ruggs
credit
is
to
It's just a tragic
It's a Tom
story.
Brady.
He's in a Las Vegas prison for DUI and vehicular manslaughter. It's one of the saddest NFL stories we've seen recently, and Ruggs was coming into his own in his
Gotta stay
second
out of
season,
trouble, man.
outproducing his rookie season in receiving yards in just 7 games with 400.
Freaking fast as hell, dude. Fast as hell. The freaking, the quad, dude. Him, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Jerry Jeudy. All at Alabama at the same time at one point. They were so good.
69 before making the worst decision he's ever made. I think we have a better football bust, though, from 2020, which was undoubtedly the Titans selection at 29, Georgia tackle Isaiah Wilson. Wilson, who was also arrested for DUI, appeared in just 1 game for Tennessee, playing just 4 snaps, giving him the lowest total on this
4
list.
snaps?
And then he was traded to the Dolphins in a
4 snaps? Holy
7th
shit.
round swap, the most low stakes trade you can make, and never suited up for Miami after showing up late to a physical and missing workouts. All things considered, he might be the least impactful player on this list. He probably knew no matter how hard he blocked in Tennessee, they were going to trade away A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry anyway. So maybe he's just ahead of the curve. 2021, the 49ers traded a haul for quarterback Trey Lance, and he only appeared in 8 games over 2 seasons for San Francisco before he was supplanted by Brock Purdy, who basically...
There are some Niners fans that still can't get over Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch doing this, by the way. I still hear about it today. I still hear about it today.
Bailed out the entire franchise.
He did. Brock Purdy bailed him out.
It's rare to make such a massive whiff at 3rd overall and not really suffer for it. They also could have stayed at pick 12, which is where Dallas took Micah Parsons, and maybe that gets them over the top in 2023. 2022, well, this was a notoriously bad QB draft, but none of them were taken high enough to warrant the label of the biggest bust in 2022. Not even Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett. The real swing and miss comes at 7th overall when the Giants took tackle Evan Neal. Neal was a pushover at tackle, playing a big part in the 2023 Week 4 game when Daniel Jones was sacked 11 times against Seattle.
That is absolutely nuts to let your QB get sacked, let alone hits. Who knows how many times he got hit, but sacked 11 times. That's crazy. That's crazy. Daniel Jones probably took the snap and he was probably already scared. Come on now.
Got moved to guard and then missed all of 2025. The Giants declined his 5th-year option, but recently re-signed him on the veteran minimum, which infamously has 0 money guaranteed. Maybe he turns it around. Who knows? 2023, we're finally veering in the too soon to say territory. I think the cutoff for draft evaluation is when teams start making decisions on 5th-year options, and we'll get a better read on that next season. If I had to make an early judgment, I'd say it's not looking good for the 4th overall pick, Anthony Richardson.
It's absolutely not looking good. Adam Schefter literally just talked about it. Like, they're not picking up his 5th-year option. And, dude, Anthony Richardson was so talented. Remember his cannon? Remember that throw that he, what was it, in the preseason? He threw this cannon throw all the way down the field. It's like, holy shit, he's so talented. But I remember when he was being drafted, they talked about how he was like a raw talent from Florida. Sometimes that can go bad because their form and just their whole game is it's not there yet, you know?
Richardson is supremely talented and made one of the most awe-inspiring throws of 2024, but the stats are rough to look at, and he doesn't seem to be in the Colts' plans moving forward. I'd still like to see what he has in a second go-round, but it's hard to say he didn't have the opportunity to succeed with the Colts when you look at what Daniel Jones did in 2025. 2024, it's even more too early to tell for 2024, but
really
I guess we're all thinking of the same guy here.
I call him 9. 9 comes out.
J.J. McCarthy is still just 23 years old, but the
poor J.J. McCarthy.
Vikings have already signaled how they feel about him with the Kyler Murray signing.
Xavier Watts picking his ass off right there.
The biggest mistake the Vikings made in this scenario isn't that they took McCarthy, it's that they chose him over Sam Darnold. It would be disingenuous to look at Darnold's career, though, and say McCarthy's not capable of bouncing back after just 11 starts.
Dude, I I said, why are they not keeping Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings? I thought it was stupid. I was like, just keep him. Just sit JJ McCarthy. Everybody's like, oh no, JJ McCarthy has to start. Some people were saying that. I'm like, why? Patrick, come on, man. We know some QBs that sat. Just chill.
It has to hurt for Minnesota to see how good 4 of the top 6 QBs in this draft class have been so far, and know they ended up with 9! 2025. Only 3 players from this class have made the Pro Bowl. What a bunch of bums.
And you're playing like a bum. I bet you better start doing your job.
Obviously, the only 3 good players are Tyler Warren, Chimere Dike, and Shedeur Sanders. In all seriousness, the only player I think is safe to call a bust from the first round of 2025 is James Pierce.
He ruined
That's purely off the field because he had 10.5 sacks his rookie season. His arrest and stalking allegations are really bizarre.
Bro, Atlanta had
his
themselves
career
one.
Might be over. It's also fair to say that I have questions about Travis Hunter and the way he's going to be utilized in Jacksonville, plus the fact that the
They're saying that he's probably going to be a corner, so we'll see. But
Jags seemed to function more smoothly without him last season. Now, that's not a knock on Travis Hunter, but his versatility as a two-way player and the investment that they made in him could also end up being somewhat of a burden. But as he moves to defense full-time, I look for him to thrive. And finally, 2026. Here's what really differentiates this list from others. I, Brandon Perna, am going to tell you right now who is the biggest bust from the 2026 draft weeks before it even happens. It's going to be Denzel Boston, the wide receiver from Washington. I'll be honest, I don't really know anything about him yet, but Field Yates mocked him to the Patriots at 30.
Nah, he ended up going to Cleveland. He went to Cleveland. And they got another good wide receiver along with him, too, so. KC Concepcion.
You can imagine how annoying Pats fans will be about having a guy named Boston play receiver for him.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, now that's a good band. You know what band I love more? Boston.
No offense, Boston, but if you go to New England, it's over.
I guess we'll see.
And that's all I've got for you today. The draft is hard. So just try not to screw up as badly as these teams did. Thanks for
Dude, that's a good list though. That's a good list. Yeah, man. I don't know. You guys let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Be sure to drop a like, subscribe to your boy. All we do is talk football. Love and appreciate you. It's your boy Shady Luke, and I'm out. Deuces.